welcome into the newest episode of our draft grades. Today we're going to be going over the NFC East today. We're going to be going from Washington to Philly to Dallas, and you'll understand why later on. But overall, I loved watching this draft. Again, thank you so much for anyone who's tuned into the Giants grades. A lot of Giants fans are over there. This is one of my most viewed videos on the first day that we've ever had, so thank you so much for that. If you are new to the channel and are part of the 97% of viewers that watch these videos and are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button as we're doing a lot of NFL draft content. So it'd be much appreciated if you guys do subscribe. And without further ado, we are going to get right into this with the Redskins. And the Redskins held the number 2 pick. They didn't do too much in the later rounds to move around. I mean, they had those 3 trades, but they weren't really too big. They really got their guys that they wanted, which I kind of like. So let's go pick by pick here, and we'll go over the grades. Now, starting off with Chase Young at pick 2. I think I gave this one a B+ in my initial rankings. I gave it an A- here. Chase Young is a transcendent talent. He's the best player in this draft, hands down, by far. The reason I did it was because there's no need at the edge position, at the defensive end position. That's the strongest piece of this team, probably the only piece of the team that doesn't need to be worked on or helped. So to get a guy like Chase Young, yes, it's going to help you out tremendously because he's a generational talent, in my opinion. But overall, I don't see this helping your team personally. I think it's just going to help your D-line, which didn't really need the help. You know, you still have a lot of guys there that are very good football players, especially when you look at everywhere else where the secondary is kind of lackluster. The offense needs a complete overhaul. You know, Trent Williams was traded as well. This is a spot that I feel like even though they were getting calls and they said they declined all the calls, they were just ready to take Chase Young. I feel like even though it's hard to pass up on a generational talent, an offensive tackle would have been very, very helpful here for the Washington Redskins. But A- for the Chase Young pick because of how great of a talent he is. He's going to make up for that. He's going to prove to be a very good piece later on, a couple years down the road when you guys are able to fill up those other holes. But for right now, Redskins fans, there's not much optimism going into the next season for being a solid team, a competing team. But Chase Young is going to be a beautiful piece to have for the long haul. Then we go into round 3. They didn't have a second-round pick. Antonio Gibson. Now, I give this one a B. I think it's good because he's kind of a mix between a wide receiver and a running back. He can kind of do a little bit of both, kind of what Cordero Patterson has been doing on the Bears. And I think that's a good thing. I gave it a B just because I feel like you could have gotten something different, something better in the 3rd round. There was a lot of good talent still left on the board, especially at the beginning of round 3. I feel like there was a lot of other places you could go. But they decided to go with Antonio Gibson, who I think, it fills a couple of holes on the offense a little bit. I think they're going to use him more running back than receiver, in my opinion, just because they got Gandy Golden later. They have some younger receivers that they like to progress next season as well. But I like the pick. I just don't think they should have went there. I feel like he might have even still been there later in the 3rd round if they wanted, maybe even the 4th. So it definitely isn't a bad player. I like him as a player. I think it's just a little bit of a reach. That's why it's a B. Then we go over to round 4, where at pick 2, they had Shadiq Charles, the offensive tackle from LSU. I gave this one a C. He was a solid prospect, but he has just been a complete mess at LSU. He's been in trouble so many times for so many different things. He's a bit of a nutcase, and I don't know if that's something that Ron Rivera would want to take the challenge on. I don't know if that's something that they're looking to do, but when you're kind of building this team, I don't see this guy replacing Trent Williams, who was there for so long, and not giving you any more trouble than what Trent Williams was doing already. So, I mean, hey, you got a good tackle. His talent is there. I just don't know how great he's going to translate to the NFL level. I don't know if he's going to be mature enough for the NFL level. We'll kind of see what happens there. But offensive tackle definitely was a need, especially with Trent Williams leaving. I just don't. Once again, I think that there could have been other players you could have went and gone and get. Jack Driscoll, I think, was still on the board. Trey Adams, I know, fell a long time. I think he was still there. There's just other ways they could have went in the 4th round, even going to get a corner or a tight end or a running back or something like that. But we'll talk about those later as well. Later on in the round 4, in the compensatory picks, they got up Antonio Gandy Golden from Liberty, small school prospect. Loved his tape, loved his production especially in the offseason, what he was able to do. He started rising up a lot of draft boards. I think that this was a very solid pick. I'm giving this one an A. This is about where I was thinking he would fall. I think he might have been a little bit earlier of a day 3 pick, maybe a late day 2 even. But for him to still be there at the end of round 4, I think it was a solid pick. I think he's somebody that could find his way onto the roster by the end of the year, onto the field, by the end of the year. So I definitely like the pick there from the Redskins. Going on to the round 5, they have 2 picks there. Pick 11, Keith Ismail out of San Diego State. I gave this one an A as well. I like him as a prospect as well. The center position, I think that he really could win out. I think he's able to move around too. This offensive line needs a lot, especially losing Eric Flowers, who was a little bit ironically pretty good at guard for them last year. They lost Trent Williams, so they got to overhaul the left line. And this is just an offensive line that really gets injured a lot. So you're going to be able to get guys like Ismail who can just kind of rotate around as the backup, be good depth, because if someone goes out in that interior, I think he'll be able to fill that. Khaleke Hudson at the end of the middle of the 5th round, more or less. I really like this pick. I'm a huge Khaleke Hudson fan out of Michigan. I think he's going to be able to progress into something very good. So for him to go in the middle of round 5, I think that even is a little bit late for him. So that for them to get it, I gave that one an A+. I really like what he's able to bring for the Redskins. All around kind of guy. He's able to do a lot. That's what I kind of like about him. He's got very much versatility. One of my personal like sleepers coming into this draft. So that was very good. Then we go over to round 7 here. Cameron Curl out of Arkansas. I'm going to be honest. I gave this one a C. I didn't even know who this guy was coming into it. I didn't really have him as a draftable guy. But, looking at him, seeing what he is, I gave it a C. I think he could be decent depth. But when you're looking at what positions are pretty weak, the secondary is a pretty weak spot on the team right now. And I feel like you should have addressed these needs a little bit higher than getting multiple offensive linemen or getting, an edge rusher, whatever it is. There's a lot of things they could have done differently, in my opinion. So obviously there's a lot of holes to fill, but I didn't really see this guy as a great prospect. And then James Smith-Williams in the last round. As a player, I think he's a pretty solid player. Is about where I saw him going. So that's good for them to get him here. But I give this one a D simply because why are you taking another defensive lineman when you have other holes to do? We've already talked about how Chase Young was already a pick to where, hey, you already have a good defensive line with depth. So getting Chase Young, now you have an insane, the talent there is absolutely insane. But getting a guy like Smith-Williams, who probably won't even make the roster when you could have had a guy like you could have went for a tight end, you could have went for a tackle, you could have went for a depth quarterback or something. I don't know. You could have went pretty much anywhere else than the defensive line, and they went defensive line. And that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I really don't see why the defensive line they think is such a thing they should spend draft capital on. I get the Chase Young thing, obviously, because he's the best player in the draft. But, here, this one didn't make sense to me. They did end up taking Thaddeus Moss as a UDFA. I'm not going to go through all the UDFAs, but I thought that was a good one because they do need a tight end. And that's somebody that they probably wanted to take, but they ended up picking him as a UDFA, so that's very good for them. Hopefully he'll progress into something decent. But overall for the Redskins, I gave him a B. I think that there was definitely good picks. You got the best player in the draft in Chase Young. You got Khaleke Hudson late in the 5th round, in the middle of the 5th round. Ismail will be very good. Gandy Golden, I think, will progress into something decent. If Shadik Charles can fix his issues, I think he's going to be a very good player as well. And just overall, a solid draft class. Above average, obviously, with a B. I just think there's a lot of things they could have done a little bit better. Maybe spending their late day 3 picks on better depth positions. Even looking at earlier on, maybe getting Antonio Gibson later, trading back for him, or going some other direction. I think there's different directions they could have went that would have helped their team a little bit more. Overall, definitely a solid draft class for Redskins fans. This is going to help you out in a few years, definitely, when the team, I think, is at competing level. Then we're going over to the Philadelphia Eagles here. Come on, everyone's already talked about the Eagles draft picks, but we'll go through them. Jalen Reagor out of TCU here. I gave this one a C. He's the 9th ranked prospect positional-wise on NFL draft class. And that's about where I had him too. For them to reach as high as they did over Justin Jefferson, to make him the 4th receiver taken off the board, that was just absolutely insane to me. I did not see him as that. And I'll get more to it later, but when you have a guy like Deshaun Jackson, I guess you like Jalen Reagor to learn from him. But I don't see – here's the thing. The Eagles have not had a premier wide receiver in so long. They got Alshon Jeffrey after injuries. He's really not – he kind of looks like an old man out there when he plays. He's still got a lot in him, but, what I'm saying is, you're not really seeing Alshon Jeffrey like you saw when he was in Chicago. You're not really going to get that from him. The best receiver they've had probably since Djax, other than Djax, maybe Jeremy Maclin, the years that he had Jeremy Maclin. So it's weird. He dropped a lot of passes. He can't win 50-50 balls, but he has speed. That's really what he is. So hopefully you can learn from Deshaun Jackson and prove everybody wrong. But to be the 4th receiver taken off the board, I just did not see that as a thing, especially when you could have traded up and gotten CeeDee Lamb from the Falcons. You could have done different things. Just did not agree with the pick. I gave that one a C. Now we're going over to their 2nd round pick where they took Jalen Hurts, who I love as a prospect. I had him as my 4th quarterback on my rankings. I gave this one a D plus. The D plus is literally because I love him as a prospect. I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the future. But I think the situation is pretty shitty for him. If I'm going to be honest, you're banking on him playing when Wentz is hurt. Which yes, Wentz does get hurt every year. It's just kind of a thing that happens. So will he get playing time? Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to do good with that playing time. But to take him here when you could have helped out your team so much, there was still great corners still on the board. You still could get a linebacker. All these different needs that you have. Even another receiver you could have gotten. I know there's good receivers still on the board too. There's so many different things they could have done here, and for them to skip on all of that and end up taking Jalen Hurts, it just absolutely confuses me. They say they want to be a quarterback factory. Cool, that doesn't help you at all, especially when you barely won the division last year just because the Cowboys choked at the end of the season. There was no reason they were going to make the playoffs. The Cowboys just really dropped the ball at the end of the season. Eagles capitalized on that, but when you look at what the Giants and the Cowboys did in their draft classes, and they did very well. I'll spill that for you. They did very well in the draft classes, and they've been both progressing their players very well. Those are two teams that are ready to fight for that NFC East, because NFC East right now is all pretty even right now, except for the Redskins, in my opinion. But to waste a second rounder on a backup quarterback, I just don't see the value in it, especially when you're trying to win that division as much as you can. I just don't see it. So Jalen Hurts at D+. I love the player. I love him a lot as a player. I think he's going to be a great quarterback if he goes to a better situation. But where he is right now, unless they get rid of Wentz, even though they just paid him 5 years, $150 million, yeah, I just don't like the pick. Going on to Davion Taylor out of Colorado. Really liked him as a prospect coming out of Colorado. I love his size and speed. Very much a very good hybrid. They say right there, linebacker and safety. He's really quick off his feet. I love his versatility there. I give that one a B. Once again, I think that he, as good of a player as he is, I just don't know where they're going to play him. Maybe they should transition him to a safety role. But the fit, once again, I think there could have been other players that are set in their positions. You could have went for a safety like a Kevon Wallace or somebody that got taken, obviously by whatever. But no, sorry, you'll get to Kevon Wallace later. But apologize, I completely messed that one up right there. But I think they could have went better positional value there. Outside linebacker, I don't see as a huge need for them at this time. Getting corner depth would have been good. Maybe even another receiver, like we talked about, getting interior linebacker. Unless they plan to play him in the interior or play him at a safety level, I just don't know what they're kind of thinking with this one in the round 3. I think they could have done better. I love this prospect. I think it's going to be a decent fit. They just have to find the right place for him. So I give this one a B. Then we go over to Kevon Wallace, who for some reason I thought was by the Redskins, but no, he was by the Eagles. I gave this pick an A-. I really like this pick. This is about where I had him as a prospect. I think maybe a little bit later, kind of like a round 5 guy, but it was pretty close. So it's definitely somebody you could put out there, and he played pretty well. It's really, I just don't know if he's going to fill out the need for Malcolm Jenkins that you guys have now that Malcolm went to the Saints. Yeah. But overall, I did like this pick. I mean, A- is not a bad spot at all. It's just where he's going to be as a player. I just don't know if that's going to be somebody who can progress to a starter, or he's just going to be a depth guy. Round 4, a lot of round 4 players end up playing by the end of their season and then are ready to be starters by their next season, the second season. So hopefully you get that out of Kevon Wallace. I like him as a prospect. Not really sure about where he was. I think he could have went a little bit later, but overall, if you reach for a guy and you really believe in him, I'm down for it. A- is not a bad grade at all. Then we go over to Jack Driscoll, who was an offensive tackle they have as an offensive guard here. I gave this one an A+. Really, really like this pick. I think he's going to fit in well on that offensive line. Obviously, Andre Dillard, I think, is taking over for Big V, on that offensive line. I think it's going to do well for that. But Jack Driscoll is somebody who you can definitely rotate in and out at different spots. I think he can play pretty much anywhere on the offensive line because of his size and strength. I really think that's something he could do. So overall, I love this pick. I love where he's at. I think he could have went a little bit higher. He even went to them at the end of the 4th, so that's very good. One thing they didn't pick. They had a pick right after this. They didn't take it. They traded it to the Cowboys for Tyler Biadasz. Was who the Cowboys took was Tyler Biadasz. But I really think they could have blossomed with that second pick back to back. That just got more depth. Going on to John Hightower in the 5th round. I give this one a B-. Simply because it's kind of the same thing as the Rager pick. Are you just trying to take as many Deshaun Jackson type players in the draft? I mean, Hightower's a very quick guy. I think that 6'2" it helps out, but in reality, he's really a thin, speedy guy, as well as Jalen Rager, as well as Deshaun Jackson. It's like I don't see anything different. Oh, there's another thing about the Rager pick is that Rager kind of reminds me of a faster Aguilar. Had a lot of drops in college. Doesn't really, if you have drops in college, you're pretty much gonna have drops in the NFL level. So we'll see what happens with him. But I don't think Eagles fans liked Aguilar that much. Now that he's in Las Vegas, they're probably happy. So to get another one, it's kind of weird. But once again, I think that you could have just done different at the receiver position. There were still big receivers out there. You could have traded up. You could have traded down. There's just different ways you could have gone. The player himself, he's pretty good. That's why I gave it the B-. I just think that if you were going to go receiver again, which you go again later, and I think that the player you get later is a better receiver, I just think you could have done better. So that's my thought on that one. Sean Bradley out of Temple. I gave this one a B+. I really like the player. I like the fit as well. I think this is a very good spot for him. Once again, it's just another thing where I just don't know how the fit is going to be. You hope that he can do well. It's just linebacker has been such a tough spot for the Eagles for a little while. Never really having someone terrifying in the middle. You had that in Jordan Hicks, but he was rarely on the field, so we rarely got to see it as fans. So getting a guy like Sean Bradley, yes, I think he's going to be a good player. I think in a couple years he could turn out to be a solid starter. But for the now, I think linebacker is too big of a hole to wait until round 6 basically to get an interior linebacker. So definitely a good pick. I think that, like I said, he's a good player. I hope it's a good fit. I think that this is just something you could have addressed earlier, in my opinion. So B+, once again, not a bad pick at all, but I think it's something you could have done a little bit better. Quez Watkins, loved this pick here. I give this one an A+. I love the fit here. I think that he, once again, is another fast guy, which is kind of weird. I don't know what they're trying to do. That's 3 fast receivers that they got with decent hands. But when you look at what he can do for an offense, I thought he was going to be a early day 3 guy. He ended up falling to a late day 3 guy, and I really like him out of Southern Mississippi. I think it's somebody you can get a lot of talent out of. I think that he'll probably beat John Hightower out in the depth chart, so that'll be good to see. But once again, I just think it's weird for the Eagles to just be taking the same type of receiver 4 times over. So Alshon's pretty much the only receiver that plays like himself. Other than that, everyone's just kind of a different breed of Deshaun Jackson, in my opinion. So not really sure what they're trying to build there. Maybe they have a scheme they're trying to do, just make a bunch of fast receivers, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like it's not very balanced out, and that's kind of what I look for on an offense. I guess maybe they're not looking for that, but I mean, this is my personal ranking, so if you're mad, I get it. But Quez Watkins, I think, is a very solid pick. Going on over here at Prince Tegawanago, A+ for this. I had him as a early day 2 guy. That's right, early day 2 guy. Early to mid day 2 guy. Basically, I thought he would fall anywhere between the 2nd and 3rd round, anywhere on day 2. I didn't think there was a way he fell out. And for him to fall all the way to the end of the 6th round and for you to swoop him up, that is amazing. I think that he can translate into a very solid offensive tackle or anywhere, basically. You play him at guard if you want. Maybe try him there. He's athletic. I think this is just a guy who can progress. I really think he has the potential to be something very special for being a 6th-round pick. So love the pick here, A+ for that one. And then ending it out with Casey Toohill, who I did like a lot out of Stanford. I think that he's going to be a solid player off the edge within a couple years. I think you can play him on special teams and see what it is, but he's got very good burst. He's able to do a lot there. So I like this pick a lot. I gave that one an A. And for the final grade for the Eagles, C+ for the Eagles. I for a team that always usually nails the draft, nails free agency, just dealing with players, personnel, and everything like that is usually a strong suit for them. To ruin day 1 as much as they did, I really like their day 3. Like these guys right here are all solid picks. There's not really a bad one. Their worst pick, in my opinion, was John Hightower. That's not a horrible pick. But to just, when you look at the day 1 and 2s, it's just like, man, that really stinks compared to it. They did make up for it in the 3rd day, but the bulk of your draft is day 1 and 2, and for you guys to screw it up, I feel bad. I really do. Jalen Hurts is gonna be fun to play in Madden. You can't really do a Madden rebuild on Jalen Hurts, but we'll do one. But yeah, I like the day 3 guys. This is what I'll say about that. So C+ for the Eagles. Now, if you did miss my Giants video, I did that one. Obviously, the Giants are my team, so I went over them in a separate video, made them my own. I can do that because they're my team. But overall, love the whole draft. I'll go through it real quick. Off the top of my head, Andrew Thomas I know was an A+. McKinney I think is an A-. I think we could have gone Gross Matos here or somebody, but I love the player, and especially for him falling here, I love that. Parrott, I really like him as a player. I think he's going to progress very well. Darnay Holmes should have been in a round 2 guy, in my opinion. So for him to fall to us at 4 was great. Shane Lemieux is training to be a center, so for him to fill up that center hole would be perfect for us. He never missed a game in college. Cam Brown held out the middle for Penn State. Hopefully we can play him in the interior. That's where I like him as well. Tackling machine, same as Carter Coughlin off the edge, very quick off the edge. Liked him a lot. TJ Brunson, I I like the player, but didn't like the fit. We don't need this many interior linebackers, in my opinion. They took Tay Crowder again, which again I didn't think we could. I think we should have taken Rodrigo, gone for Thad Moss, gone for somebody who maybe you could have gotten here and then maybe signed Tay Crowder after his UDFA. Chris Williamson, I love the pick here. I think he's a great fit for a depth piece. Overall, I did give the Giants an A+. Not even being a bias, I really think that Gettleman knocked this draft out of the park. Pretty much filled every hole that we needed. I don't even see receiver as a whole. He didn't go after one. I'm very happy about that. That means Darius Slayton's still going to catch the field as much as he deserves, as well as Tate, Shepard. Everyone's healthy. I think it's going to be very good. Then we go over to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is not too long of a draft. They have pretty much one draft selection at each round. They have 2 fourths and not a 6, so it works out. We'll go through this as quick as possible. We're already 20 minutes in, but thank you guys so much for watching this. If you guys are still watching this one, let me know in the comment section below. Just tell me your draft grade for Dallas right now. If you guys still are watching it, that would let me know that you guys are watching the video throughout the whole length. Appreciate you guys. Leave a like on the video as well if you guys are watching. It does help me out a bunch. And subscribe if you are new. We're going to be doing content like this all off season, so be tuned in. But the first pick for the Cowboys at pick 17, they sat still at 17, and they ended up coming out with the best receiver in this draft class in CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. I gave it an A- just because I don't think wide receiver was a need this high, but it's like the Chase Young situation. How can you pass up on the best available player when he's that high of a grade above everybody else? I thought this was a spot where they could have went McKinney. They could have went for a corner. But overall, getting CeeDee Lamb here to pair up with Gallup, who had a career year last year, needs to work on the drops a little bit, but had a very good year. And Amari Cooper, who just got a brand new deal. Dak Prescott, prayers out to him, but I think he's gonna have a lot of fun throwing to this team if Dallas will give him the right money that I think he rightfully deserves. So CeeDee Lamb A- just because I don't like who they took. I think that wide receiver was not a day 1 or even probably day 2 need for them. I thought they could have just got a depth guy, but overall, I like the CeeDee Lamb pick. A- for them. Then we go to the second round, Trevon Diggs out of Alabama. This is a guy who I had as they have him as position rank 3. I had as a top 5 corner in the draft. I thought he was easily a day 1 guy, just because of his versatility, good size, great speed. He's really, really talented in my opinion. For them to get him in day 2, A+. Not only just in day 2, but pretty much late day 2, or not late day 2, late round 2, at pick 19. I think that is just such a freaking solid pick. Nothing better than that. I mean, to get arguably one of the better corners in the draft, it just this late, completely awesome. Jerry Jones knocked these first 2 picks out of the park. You couldn't really do too much better of a tandem. That's what makes the CeeDee Lamb pick a lot better too, is because they address corner, and then in round 3 they address D tackle as well, which I think was a big need for them as well. And then in round 3 they go and get Neville Gallimore, a guy who once again was a top 5 prospect in my opinion at the position. They have him as 6, but in my opinion was a top 5 prospect, and he is going to fill that interior. He's got Gerald McCoy, he's got DeMarcus Lawrence, he's got Dontari Poe. He's going to learn from all of them. I think he's a guy you can throw in right away on that defensive line. You don't have Poe and McCoy. I think they're on 1-year deals. You don't have them for long term. So getting Gallimore there will help out a lot. Maybe Tristan Hill can turn out to be something. We never know. I think that was a dumb pick last year, but Gallimore is a stud. I really like him out of Oklahoma as well. He's joining up with his boy CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys. A+ for that pick as well. Then we go over to round 4, but they selected Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa. I gave this one a B+, because anytime the Cowboys can get a depth corner, I think they need it. The more corners, the merrier, because they don't really have anybody special at that position. I think Diggs can be special, but letting Byron Jones leave is kind of suspect. But when you get a guy like Reggie Robinson, who I did not have him this high, I had him as a day 3 guy, like a late day 3 guy, what I meant to say. But I like getting the corner. If they drafted him here, they'd probably see something in him, which Cowboys are very good at pretty much progressing corners into being sufficeable starters, which is something they're very good at. We see Awuzie, we see Brown, Byron Jones was very good coming out. He came out to be something good. Jordan Lewis as well. So I think I give it a B+ because not the prospect I think you reached on a little bit, but I know how good the Cowboys are at progressing corners. So if they see something in this kid, hey, what am I to judge? He's probably going to be a solid corner in the next few years. Then we go over to pick 40, where they traded with the Philadelphia Eagles, which Philadelphia, why the hell are you trading in division? You know that that's not something you should be doing. But they traded the last pick of the 4th round, where the freaking Cowboys were able to select Tyler Biadasz, my top center in the draft. I had Cesar Ruiz actually above him at the end, but he's pretty much right next to Cesar Ruiz. This guy was absolutely insane as a blocker at Wisconsin. One of the best centers in college football, if not the best center in college football. He can play guard if you need him to. He won awards for being the best offensive lineman in college. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud. 6'4", 314. I give this one an A plus 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 plus. Whatever you want to, however many pluses you want to put on this. There was no reason Biadasz was still on the board this late. I couldn't believe it. I wanted the Giants to trade up and get him. They sat pretty. They didn't get him, and it sucks. But this guy is going to be an absolute star. With Travis Frederick retiring, it's a big loss, but you could probably put Biadasz in there day one, and he will fit in right next to everybody else. And look, the Cowboys have another offensive lineman for the next 20 years. Lord help us. Then we go on over to their pick in the 5th round, and look at that. Another guy that fell that should not have fell. Bradley Anae. I loved him. I think he was a late day 2 guy, like early 3rd rounder in my opinion. I think that was like his highest ceiling. This guy falls all the way to the end of round 5. Are you kidding me? This is an A+ for them as well. I don't know how they're knocking all these picks out of the park, but I mean, these guys are just falling and they're taking them. I mean, he was a captain. He was able to just go off the edge. Great hands. I really like his ability to just get around the edge. I mean, you get him this late. You need an edge rusher. I mean, you're able to get a guy who I think could be a day 2 guy late in day 3. It's freaking unbelievable how good they did this draft class. It pains me to say it as a Giants fan, but they were knocking this draft out of the park. And then in the last round, they messed up in my opinion. They got Ben DiNucci out of James Madison. I don't think this guy was going to get drafted. You probably could have signed him as a UDFA if you wanted. The reason I gave this one a bad grade, it's simply because I don't think he's that much better than Cooper Rush. The whole reason I think that the Cowboys are kind of a risky thing is because we don't know what's happening with Dak, and yet I think that they could have addressed maybe round 4, round 5, something like that, traded back in, done something to get a quarterback that could do a little bit better. I don't see DiNucci as even a gradable prospect, in my opinion. He was not that for me. So I did give that one a D-. Didn't like him as a prospect. I like getting a backup quarterback because Cooper Rush isn't going to be it. You need backup because Dak's really never been hurt, so you do need a backup to have in case something does happen to him. You don't want to be stuck out there with Cooper Rush when you're fighting for the division. But DiNucci's not that answer, in my opinion. Overall, A+ for this draft. I can't even front. This was an amazing draft. Every time they went up to pick, they would come out with somebody crazy, and I just looked at the TV. I was just like, are you kidding me, man? Trevon Diggs is still there. Wow, Neville Gallimore is still there. Holy crap, they just traded up to get Biadasz. This is insane. Bradley Anae. I mean, it was awesome to see how great the Cowboys knocked us out of the park, especially for how cocky Jerry Jones was, saying that he didn't want his scouts talking to him during the draft process. So this guy's really fighting for it. The only thing I worry about on this team is that, how good is the secondary going to be? That is the biggest question mark. I don't know if Trevon Diggs and Reggie Robinson can be solid performers their first year. It usually takes a year or so for a corner to break in to the NFL. So we'll see what happens. But overall, the secondary, I think, needs some help. So that's going to be what's holding them back. But overall, I mean, what an insanely good draft class. I think they're going to do very well next season in this NFC East. They're looking like the best team in the NFC East, in my opinion. I think that the Eagles and Giants are going to fight for that next year as well, with progressions and stuff. And then the Redskins are where the Redskins are at right now, maybe a year or 2 out from being competitive as well. But overall, Dallas knocked us out of the park. The rich get richer. And that is going to be it for this video. If you guys did like the video, please, please, please be sure to leave a like on it, as it helps me tremendously. You guys have been showing a lot of love to that Giants video yesterday, so I appreciate that as well. Make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and you love the NFL content coming out. We have a lot of stuff coming out within the next few months, getting us through the whole offseason, 2 OTAs. So make sure to be tuned in for that. We're going to have fantasy football content. We're going to have rebuilds on Madden. We do a bunch of different things, so be sure to check all of that out. And as well, just if you did like the video, make sure to leave a like. If you didn't, just refresh the page, check it out again, see what you think about it the second time. And without further ado, that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.